Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to this session. Thank you for coming. I'm Chikako Nakayama from Tokyo University of Foreign Studies and the chairman of this session, as well as the next one, so up to 5:30 or something. Yeah, I'd like to show a little bit about our original plan of a session. Yeah, this session has 3 papers. Originally, it was planned to have 5 papers, including the next one. It was this paper. It was planned as 3 papers of this session, and as well as the papers of Mr. Gerevi and Mr. Hafner too. Yeah. I'd like to explain a little bit more about our joint research right now. I and Mr. Kuwata and Hayashi, we are now making joint research on the currency and money and world systems analysis. And this is the theme of our joint research. And last February, we went to Germany, as close to Munich, and also to Berlin in Austria, to see how the situation of regional currency and also digital currencies in Europe. Because we know little about it, and I've seen one documentary film which deals with historical episode of Berlin in Austria, and it's the German film. And there we see also the case of Kim Gao, and I've understood that we have to know a little bit more about it. And Mr. Hayashi made an interview to Mr. Gerevi, and I went to the Institute of Mr. Hafner, and also we had some information from there. And now, because this conference is held in Japan, maybe we can inform a little bit about it, and we invite people to Japan, and now we are making a session. But because of the organization of this conference, it's divided into 2 parts. So hopefully you stay here to the next session too. Then you will see some consistency, hopefully, of our session. Yeah. Okay, now I will talk about our joint paper together with Manabu Iwata. Yeah, this is an investigation of social and credit theory of money, focusing on regional and cryptocurrencies. So maybe you haven't read our paper like this. Yeah, maybe you didn't. So yeah, of course, it's in the USB, and maybe if you are interested, please check it. Maybe I will read a little bit from the introduction. So, this paper investigates the validity and possible extension of the meaning of social and credit theory of money, taking regional and cryptocurrencies of all times into consideration. And originally, we are planning to take the situation of Bitcoin into consideration, which began in 2008. And actually, I made an article about it. And there, I also dealt with Hayek's article. And then that's why we wrote here. The precursory literature of social sciences dealing with Bitcoin, they tend to place Bitcoin as one of the denationalized currencies and attribute their early or even original idea to Hayek's treatise in 1976, which was discussed also in the plenary session in the morning, and yeah, on the nationalization of money. But it is obvious that this contribution of Hayek was not the only one, even though we can still get much ideas from it. And that's why, okay, then let's make some theoretical consideration about it, taking the situation into consideration. That's the idea of this paper. And in our paper, we deal with a little bit about the examples of Burgo and also a little bit about Kim Gao, but in this session, we have that part, so I will skip that part and I will concentrate on the theoretical part only here. So here, we'd like to investigate the social aspect of money and money in general, including non-national, regional, digital, and cryptocurrencies. And we'd like to make a kind of conceptualization of it in the theory of money, seeing the growing tendency of cryptocurrencies and also complementing the theory of money with precursor literatures of money in anthropology, history, and numismatics. Yeah, that's the idea. So here we go. As you know, maybe you are mostly studies, or maybe not, I don't know, maybe later we'll discuss about it. Anyway, there are two types of conceptualization of money. And here is a classification by Charles Goodhart, and he called it M theory and C theory. Maybe it's not so much well known, but you know surely the classification between metalism and chartism. And sometimes people say Kantianism in a classical literature, but I will call it chartism. And as you know, metalism is a theory to see money to consist of some commodity which has some value in itself. So as a very important example is metal, which has some value in itself, and that's why metalism is the name. And they see, or metalists see money as a means, mainly as a means of exchange, to keep for the next exchange. I will keep it because I can use it for the next exchange. That is the idea. So it's a means of exchange maybe. And this is really a very favorite example or favorite episode for most economists. It's the origin of money in the market. And from this episode, economic theorists tend to draw the idea, yeah, this is how money comes in the market or in the economy. And that's why this idea is supported by many prominent economists, almost all the economic theorists. They tend to believe in this episode and this idea. But of course, you know, there is another version of the concept of money, which is chartism, which sees money as a token or a ticket. It means it has, the money has no value in itself. And only because it can be used, it seems to have some value. That's the idea. And in this type, chartism sees money mainly as a means of payment, or they say it's a kind of debt. We'll explain later about it. And this idea is also supported. Main economic theorists, though most economic theorists support this idea, but there are also economic theorists who support that idea. For example, Knapp, the German classical, who invented the word of chartism. And after that, there are several people, for example, Michel Innes in England, who were dealt with by Keynes or other economic theorists, as well as many Keynesians and neo-Keynesians. They support this idea, and also historians, several historians support this idea, and also anthropologists and economic anthropologists, they believe or they support this idea much more than metalism. And we think C theory or chartism is much more useful to understand the phenomenon of crypto and digital currencies. That's our main argument here. Yeah, as you see here, metalism is often connected to the theory of market, and they emphasize market is the most important, and that's why this episode is quite important for them, and that's why they see this contract quite important, market versus the state. And they support the belief in money among people, they see it and they find it important, but it is against the authority of the state. That is the idea. And metalist says, well, chartism, they find this part quite important, and it means it's opposed to our idea, market versus the state. That is the idea for metalism. But on the other hand, chartism, they don't see this contrast. so important. They don't see it so important. They suppose believe in money among people, just right here, but they see the authority of the state as complementary to it. Okay, people believe in money, and I exchange because I know this will be accepted further, and that's why the money functions further and further. But to maintain the belief, the authority of the state can help it. It can strengthen it. That's the idea for chartalism. And that's why we have to see a little bit more about the belief in money among people. This is the social side of money. That's why we find the social aspect of money, or the theory of that, is quite important. And we'll go into detail of this part from now on. Yeah, we pose these questions. As I said, we see the credit theory and the state theory of money of the same or very, very close. It's not in contrast or contradictory. And we see it included in chartalism. And is it really the case or not is our question. And also, we pose a question. The trust or belief underlying currencies, we find it quite essential for money, for the existence of money. But does it necessitate the authorization of nation state? It means it has to be stamped by the state or so. No? Whether this authority or authorization by the nation state is necessary or not. We say no, actually, it comes later. And then next question, what is the nature of sociality or social side, indispensable element of money and currency? We find it is really indispensable and necessary, indispensable element. But what is the nature, what is the essence of the sociality and socialness is our question. Now, I will give the further explanation to Manabu. Okay, please, go ahead.
So I continue. Sorry. In order to think about the nature of sociality, so we discussed about the three types of sociality associated with money. The first aspect is the first social aspect of money is one of networking or interaction between equal subjects. So, of course, recently the importance of this aspect is increasing because new means of payment such as crypto or digital currency is emerging. So, a fintech report of IMF published in this year focuses on this aspect and says as this, economists beware. So payments are not just the act of extinguishing a debt. They are exchange and interaction between people. Fundamentally social experience. If two people use the same payment method, a third is more likely to join. So we might understand that this aspect represents somehow sin or minimum sociality underlying the belief in use of any money. The second aspect is one of settlement of debt. Of course, the payment of money can correct or settle the imbalance of power between the debtor and the creditor. As a few economists and some anthropologists have emphasized, we can see that money is a way of managing debt or a means of balancing social obligation. But this is of course, this is not end social relations. But it means that confirmation payers belonging to some community. So economic anthropologist Keith Hart argued that the word of money was derived from memory. One of money's chief function is remembering. So we can understand money as a memory bank. Also, David Graeber points out that money is a way of keeping track of the exchanges which we enter into with the rest of humanity. So of course we can say the recent blockchain technology for the confirmation of transaction by cryptocurrencies clarified that money is memory once again. Interestingly, we can also find this aspect in the social credit scheme proposed in the war years. So next aspect. So we discussed the third aspect of money, focusing on the social credit scheme. Third aspect is one of a form of credit, making community credit effective. This was much discussed Clifford Hugh Douglas and Guild Socialists after the end of First World War in the UK. Of course, social credit movement was sought for the realization of guild socialistic economy. But we can draw more general implication for the sociality of money and credit. The firstly, social credit theorists categorized two types of credit. So real credit and financial credit. Real credit is defined as the effective reserve of energy belonging to the community. In the other words, it is the community's ability to deliver goods and services for people. And it based on the natural resources and common cultural heritage within the community. Here, common cultural heritage refers to the result of labor, skills, knowledge, inventions, and technological innovations of people in the past. So Douglas and Guild Socialists emphasized the real wealth of society is communal in origin and should be subject to the control of the entire community. So, in other hand, financial credit is referred to the ability to deliver money as and when demanded. So, so Douglas and Guild Socialists argued that the money should not be created as interest-bearing debt money by private interests. Of course, their main target was the bank credit creating function. So they criticized the situation that the entire financial credit was privately controlled. So the main purpose of their scheme is to restore to the community the full use of financial credit as an instrument for the full use of its real credit. So as a means to this end, for example, they proposed the payment of national dividend, which is a non-work related, non-means tested income to every adult citizen. And they argued that the national dividend should be distributed as a form of treasury notes directly issued by the government or local authorities. So importantly, this proposal was based on the idea that real credit or cultural heritage should be accessed by everyone within the community or region as a membership. A social credit scheme is a critique of laborism, which is a dominant ideology that money should be the confirmation of individual labor or effort. So in the case of the social credit scheme, we can find more thick or substantive sociality or communality of money than recent new currencies show. So next we come to our conclusion. We can suggest 2 points our conclusion. First, as have shown, by using the credit theory of money, we can analyze various monetary phenomena and different types of currencies not only legal tender and bank credit, but also regional or cryptocurrencies. And we can also analyze those aspects that is complementary aspect and conflicting aspect between the state and the social over such money. Second, therefore, so we need to rethink the growing tendency of non-national currencies, in particular, focusing on the nature of society or community underlying each money or currencies. So we can find different, sometimes conflict each other, the societies, according to different currencies. So then the questions of where the money comes from, or who has the power to issue the money, is also important to examine. That's all. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. I abused the power here, I'm sorry, but until 50 or so, we have time? Okay, so some 10 minutes or so, then we have time for questions and comments, observations. You have some idea? Please go ahead. Yeah, okay. Please.
About the
Maybe please
louder.
your name.
As Christian Gallery and the concept of metalist currency and the chartalism currency. I think there you said chartalism means no value. I think it's also the difference between the value of the metal and when you have a higher value of the currency. So the nominal value of the currency, when it is higher than the metal, like the coin, it's from copper, and then the value is higher. Then Knapp would say it's also chartalism. So you have a fluent transition from metallism to chartalism. So I think the chartalism begins quite a few hundred years ago.
Yes. So you mean that it's not so exact that I write here no value in money. In other means of storing the value, so chartalism, the interpretation of money as chartalism can also be seen to have some values. That's
Yes.
your argument.
And the secret is the power of the state, and that makes the difference between the value of the metal and the nominal value, what the people see in the coin or in the note.
Okay.
It's more complicated. It's a long discussion. It will be more complicated.
Okay. Then
I shall
go ahead and please go ahead.
Yes, it's about capitalism. It refers to the right to law and to the state,
Yes.
but if we take an historic point of view, the nature of the state has changed along the centuries. When we had the old regime state with a monarch
Yeah.
and with the law of reference was divine law, it's not the same when we had a more liberal democratic state where the law of reference is people's sovereignty and the nature of debt, fiscal debt, has changed. And perhaps if we take into account the fact that the modern state is more democratic liberal, the money issued by the state is not a fiat, really a fiat money, but it's a fiscal credit money.
Yes. Yes.
So, because it's anticipation over future tax incomes. So we had also a kind of credit money
Yes.
in this case.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, because I made it very schematic. It's a little bit too much simplification. So maybe in the paper we discuss a little bit more cautiously, and maybe when we finish finalize our paper, we have to take care of that. Okay, thank you. Okay.
I love Heinz Hafner from the Unter Guggenberger Institute. I love the discussion about all the social things that money can fulfill, and I would call it's a trusted medium, nothing more, nothing less. What I'm missing here, and then it's coming up more and more in the high technology area where I'm from, it's not the social actor as a human being anymore. There is coming up something most important, and it's the artificial intelligence and the autonomous technology that is handling and trading for itself. And I think more and more parts of the real trading volume will be in the next 5, 20, 100 years, whatever you see as a horizon, that not human people, not social people will do the deals, but machines will trade with machines. So your refrigerator will deal with your car, and whatever. So everything that has a sensor, everything that can trade something and has some built-in intrinsic value to trade, will trade. And that's something I absolutely miss in all the discussions I see at the moment, that the actors, the agents that are handling all the transactions in the next or near future will not be social things.
Thank you very
Sorry
much.
for that.
Yeah, actually, this quotation, as Manabu said, this is a quotation from the FinTech report of IMF, so just issued in July of this year, and I find it really too optimistic. And as you said, it's not only such kind of very rosy networking, but rather very serious program. Who has the right, or who has the human rights, or human in the sense, including artificial intelligence, and it cannot be such a simple observation. But thank you very much for a nice comment. And please go ahead.
Yes, it is a mixed intervention. I agree with my colleague about the role of artificial intelligence and things like that. And finish by saying it's not social. I would say it is clearly social. In fact, it's just that the blockchain and all this stuff are beginning the new kind of institution, technical institution, I would say, because they have the role of creating the trust, finally. So we are just changing the agent by the path. It was the state or the religion, I don't know. But now we are creating social stuff that are doing the job for creating the trust. So maybe it can be the mix between what Bruno said and you said.
Thank you very much. Nice comment. And please go ahead.
I have 2 points. One is I may miss it, but do you have any system to assure the sociality? Is that the metalism and the capitalism? Is that your answer?
Yeah, actually, we are saying that both mentalists and chartalists, they find the social side of it their side that they solve. So you're saying that there should be some.
I thought if the social aspect is more important, there need to be the system to assure the sociality and to operate the currency system, right? And one more point is, I think currency is just a tool. So, do they need to be so socialistic? It's just a tool. So it don't have to be social. It's just if they have currency enough, they can just use it.
Well, but if there are two partners or two people in question to deal with something like Bitcoin and so on, then it's the minimum unit of the society. That's my definition of the society or sociality.
Yeah.
So maybe you have a different definition about the sociality or sociality?
No, there is a sociality, but I mean, if the social aspect of the currency means maybe I think it is derived from how many currency do they issue or something like that, right?
Or you find some ethical implication listening to the social aspect? You mean that?
Yeah.
That's what we don't.
You don't have
Yeah,
ethical
we don't
aspect.
have to.
Yeah,
Yeah, in that
that's fine.
sense, I
Okay,
agree
sounds
with you. Yeah, thank you. I'm afraid the time is running short. 1 more minute. Okay. Okay, please go ahead.
I'd like to come back to your final question regarding who has the power to issue money, which I think is one of the most important questions that we have to face at a certain point, in the sense that if you make this question, then we have to imply that the nature of money is directly or indirectly linked to the issue of power.
Yes, yes.
Political power, social power. So money is power in a certain way. Now, today we do recognize state money, the euro, the Japanese yen, because we recognize the power of a state. And we justify the power of a state with our democratic election and all this. Now, without any sort of historical reference to the past, the monarchy, the emperor, and so on and so forth, if we are going to accept cryptocurrencies, digital currencies, local currencies, which kind of power should we justify? Should we think about some sort of democratic procedure to justify the power of this new money? And otherwise, what would be your reply to this link between power and money?
Well, actually, what Manam explained here, maybe right? But maybe I will present that this part is actually about the power. I mean, it's the politics in a wider sense, and it cannot be party politics or whatever, but the politics in the sense that people can collect some power. It doesn't have anything to do with the labor power and so on, just to be there and so on. And Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, there are communities, and this kind of credit, it has the origin of community or communal power.
So it is the power of the community.
Yeah, power of the community, okay, yeah, right. And
which is controlled by the same community.
Yeah, so it shouldn't, it need not to be
institutionalized.
Yeah, okay, thank you. You understand? Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll think it over. Okay, I have to finish this session, and the next session comes. Now is the Kiminori. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone. My name is Kiminori Hayashi, and I'm assistant professor at Meiji Gakuin University. Time is limited, so I start my report. My report title is Rethinking the Significance of Regional Currencies, the case of the Chiemgauer. Chiemgauer is Germany regional currency. First, I talk about why do I pick up Chiemgauer. Regional currency are readily accepted in regions with rising unemployment rate due to the economy. However, unemployment rate around Lake King's near Munich is low. So, depriving the Chiemgauer of this favorable condition. Despite this, the number of stores that accept the Chiemgauer grew from 100 in 2003 to over 500 to 2015. And consumers and exchange volume continues to grow. This paper positions Kimgawa as an important case of a regional currency accepted in a region where the issue of legal currency are not apparent, and rethink the significance of regional currencies on clarifying the structure and rethinking this example. Next, I talk about program interest and reporting purpose. The most distinctive characteristics of the Kimgawa from an institutional perspective is its use of negative interest rates. The labor certificates or Belger are famous as an example of currency with demurrage, and thus the Kimgawa is often thought to draw on the Biogezer's thinking on the use of negative interest rates. However, the Kimgawa incorporates the thinking of Rudolf Steiner, such as social threefolding with freedom within speech and right and friendship in the economy, and the three characteristics of money. So, using Steiner's views on currency, I consider the merits and demerits for consumers, stores, and groups such as non-profit organizations that are recipients of assistance, and then revisit the significance of regional currencies. The academic contribution made by this paper is clarifying the new significance of regional currencies based on Rudolf Steiner's discussions, and particularly those on gifts. So I explain Steiner's thoughts on money. Steiner says the money plays a different functions of exchange, lending, and gifting, depending on the situation. With the understanding of this idea, Steiner emphasizes the importance of consciously recognizing the different functions of money when we use it. According to Steiner, this gifting function is essential in creating new social value in the sense that it allows people to start new activities free from their past. Steiner says that people who are living free and spirited lives are mere consumers of the past. However, they are very productive for the future, albeit indirectly. Apart from bringing creativity into society, the gifting function has an important role. That is to use up newly created economic value that is created through the lending function. Steiner's economic process includes the vision of social development that is not aimed at unlimited economic growth. Money becomes an important tool for each individual to exercise his or her abilities. Steiner's idea is to implant a life cycle into money and to consciously increase gifting. Then I explain Kimgawa structure. Please look at this figure. I think three main points. First is exchange part. When consumers exchanging legal currency or regional currency, there are no discounts. So €1 equals 1 Kimgawa. However, those that have exchanged Kimgawa can donate 3% of the amount exchanged at the store to local NPO of their choice. And second point, circulate path. The Kimugawa was designed for demurrage of 2% totally, but currently 2 times per year. The annual rate is 6% demurrage percent. So 3 point is pay 5% redeem part. In the case of Kimugawa, redeem fees or conversion fees amount to 5%, and only store can make exchange. Of that, 3% is donated to NPOs, and the rest goes to the cost of running the administrative office. So, we see Kimugawa's effect about sales of old stores and donations. Sales in Kimugawa over 7 million euros. Now 7 million euros. And donations to organizations are over 65,000 euros. Both is increasing. Now I consider the merits and demerits. First, for consumers. Unlike legal currency, the Kimugawa was designed to be a currency with characteristics for gifting within the system. So not for gifting in conventional form. In other words, even individuals with no assets can easily become involved in the gifting process just by using Kimugawa. One merit for consumers is that it contributes to local economic activities, and the currency that one uses will, at very least, not be directly used for speculation. In addition, the currency is structured so that individual gifting bear no burden. Significantly, we can use the authority that comes from gifting. This is extremely important when one considers the unit of the region. While there are some demerits to the currency, such as only being to use it locally and the time involved in exchange fees, use of the Kimugawa contributes to the local economy and assists support groups, making the system design of major benefits to consumers. Next, second, for donation recipient organizations. According to standard thinking, non-profit organizations, other local organizations that receive donations, extraordinarily important agents that have the possibility of creating entirely new things within their community. Education, arts, etc. For these organizations, the Kimugawa is superior because these organizations receive funding with weekend authority. Funds that might not have been available if only legal currency were used flow into these organizations. Thus, just as for consumers, the benefit of the Kimugawa are great for the organizations that receive donations. So finally, for stores, while While there are major benefits to Team GAWA for functionals and organizations that receive donation, the value to stewards which pay a holding tax appears low. Whether Team GAWAs are accepted and function well depend on whether many stewards participate in. The Team GAWA experienced demurrage when holding. Conversion to euro is allowed. A 5% fee is incurred for conversion. In other words, if an individual attempts to invest currency and within the region outside of that region, that individual must generate a profit greater than exchange fee. Thus, the Team GAWA is not a good fit for stewards that wanted to expand outside of their area. Growth principles were clearly ignored in system design for Team GAWA. In contrast with legal currency that ripe for ease of use among expansion-minded companies. According to interviews, there are major benefits for eating and drinking establishment and small organic farmers. The Team GAWA has provided opportunities for people that pay no attention to food growing areas to find out about local foods. And that people choose local foods even at somewhat higher cost, it is possible to reduce food mileage. From this, we can see that the principles of sustainability and regional circulation are fundamental to Team GAWA. The Team GAWA is not beneficial to stewards working to grow, but it is significant currency for stewards that wish to have ongoing stable operation in the region. Therefore, stores generates a certain level of profit through economic activity, a portion of which goes to Team GAWA operation as a stamp fee. And those fees are also used as a gift when currency conversions are made. Compared to China's views on money, we can see overall that the Team GAWA is a currency that has grown through its ranging characteristics, but that diminished through its gifting function, and that it has system design that enhance the quality of the region. So, my conclusion. In contrast to modern currency systems with centralized management for mass growth advantageous to large farmers, large firm farms, the Team GAWA is a currency with democratic management and aims toward qualitative development, sustainability, and small stewards. With continuing urbanization and decline of rural areas, regional digitalization is an important concern. But there is a need to think of regional development from directions other than the pursuit of private profit or economic growth. And the currency to meet this concern is desirable. Regional currency not only has a role in revitalizing slumping economies, but has shown that the currency can be designed by students themselves to be accepted by those in area with healthy economies and can contribute to qualitative development and sustainability of society. So it's my presentation. In the detail, please read my full paper. Japanese and English version, both there are both versions. So in USB memory. So please read my full paper. And thank you.
We have something to solve for discussion. So if you have questions, comments, observations, please go ahead. Please do your name.
My name is Chris. I'm from the Hudson Valley Current, a local currency in New York. Is there an incentive for the businesses to donate to the nonprofits, or is it by choice?
Outside of the community, so to speak.
Yeah, when the business donates to one of the nonprofits, do they get a reward or incentive, or are they just choosing to support a nonprofit?
I think but Mr. Gary, but I think business for fosters,
Express your opinion and if
yeah,
your colleagues.
Own community, if your own communities developed, so for stores it is a good thing. I think so. Okay.
Thank you.
So my English is very restricted, so I don't speak well, but I think so.
Thank you.
So
Perhaps you can show the cycle again, and there you can see. When the businesses change back, they have no choice. They have to pay 5%, and they have no choice what non-profit organization get for it, because the consumer chooses the project, and that's the bonus for the exchange from euro into kilo. So, but within the circle, it could be that a business has too much Chiemgauer, and he asks what to do with it, and so before he pays the demurrage fee or he exchanges it back, it could be that he is ready to donate it. And we have some examples for it, that they are more open to donate extra for non-profits. So we have two different mechanisms.
Do they get a tax deduction?
Yes. Yes.
Further questions or comments?
You say that this system is a synthesis between Gesell ideas on negative interest rate or taxation of and Rudolf Steiner model of capital, death of capital, splitting. Perhaps because
Yeah,
No, that's
first, and then
yes.
要するにシュタイナー協調点はシュタイナーの思想っていうことだったんだけど、やっぱりそのゲセルの負の要するに変化するマニーっていうのとシュタイナーの思想のこう人定図、両方統合したものっていうふうに考えていますかという質問です。
ゲゼルの人も入ってるし、シュタイナーの人も入っていて、で、どれがいいとか、ディテールかとかいうのは別にして、その事例をそのシュタイナーの人から考えている。
Yeah, of course, you can say that is the integration was in These of Gesel's idea and Steiner's thought. But from his point of view, maybe it's better to emphasize the aspect of Steiner's thought, because normally we don't think of Steiner from an economic perspective. But at least in Japan, Steiner is dealt with mainly from the area of education and so on. So maybe it's worthwhile to focus on this aspect. Thank you. And some more comments or questions?
For me, there is a big difference between the Virgil situation and the Chiemgau situation, because the gifting part and this non-commercial and this non-profit part is an integrated and very wonderful thing that the Chiemgau is having as a value system for me. If you have a look on the old crisis value of the Virgil Freigeld, it was just, there was nothing to eat, there was nothing to work, there was a real need and means of surviving, and it was not this gifting or this luxury problem, I would call it. It's not a luxury problem, do not misunderstand my statement, but it's a different level of a mechanism that it's built in. And I don't see this percentage that is going to different things or different parties as something that is taxing or it's something negative, because most of the time it's called a negative interest. I think it's not a negative interest, it's a surplus for the community. And I think if the participants understand that, then you cannot compare Virgil, the negative interest, because in Virgil it was mostly to get the money going round. And here it's not the first point to get the money going round, because hoarding the Chiemgau is just crazy. It is, because it's a regional local system, and it should be used for what you can consume and what you can do in the region. And in the Virgil example, it was not crazy to hoard money, because it was so scarce that the small amount of money you had, you maybe needed for food next month. So it's a totally different thing, even if you're talking the same numbers in means of negative interest. So I don't like this negative interest name.
Okay.
In addition, perhaps, I think the Chiemgau was also not just influenced by these theoretical models, but also by the alternative economics discussion which happened in Germany in the 70s and 80s. So that was another influence to that. I can refer also to an empirical study about this, which makes the point. It's the idea of the prosumer coming in, and this, I think, had also an influence. Maybe I'm talking nonsense, I can't be corrected.
Oh, you're good.
That's my impression.
Okay, thank you. And maybe because what Heinz said is also Kiminori's understanding. That's why he wanted to separate Virgil from Chiemgau.
I know that. I only wanted to underline that
Yes.
interest rate and negative, even if the central bank in Europe is now talking about negative interest rate, that's not the same negative interest rate as in Virgil as in Chiemgau. So we have totally different aspects on it.
Yes. Thank you. And some more comments, questions?
No, maybe another comment on the same thing.
Oh yeah.
But if there are no other questions, there is also the major difference of a scheme created by a municipality, the city town hall, and a scheme created by a community, I mean a civil society. I don't know how you will name this, but because this was my school. But it's exactly, it's very different in the process, in the relationship to public authority also, and in the value that are settled by the issuer, because as far as I understand, the values and the purposes of the scheme were very precisely settled by the group that founded the Chiemgauer, while in the case of Virgil, the matter was not it was not the same thing. Maybe you could be more precise than me, but
next session.
yeah, matter of survival of the city and so on.
Thank you. And thank you very much for arriving. The next presentation of Mrs. Dan and Mrs. Okabe, and I forgot to say that I also have a joint research with Okabe and Dan, and they are combining some examples of Chiemgauer and also the Japanese regional currency. Okay. Please.
こんにちは。Good afternoon. I'm Mayumi Dan from Tokyo University in Ibaraki Prefecture. And with my colleague Kayo Okabe from Datron Corporation, we will make this presentation utilizing regional currency as an educational tool for community building. This is the flow of our presentation. I have made a few handouts and I have put it right at the back. If you would like to take it, please do so, but I have only maybe about 15 of them, so I'm sorry it's not for everyone, but you will see it, the same slides on the screen.
And if you want, maybe later on,
Yes.
you can email it to you wish this person.
And I will explain the aim of the study from three different points of view. One is from geographical point of view, and the second is educational, and the third is from community building point of view. Firstly, geographical point of view is about to learn about the regional currency. We thought it is very crucial to see the spread on the map, how the regional currency is actually being used in the region. And when we view the regional currency on a map, we can see how it is diffusing in the area, together with existing facilities and houses. And we can use the map of the regional currency to seek further marketing opportunities. And then from the educational point of view, as Hayashi-san explained about Chiemgauer, Chiemgauer was actually produced from educational field. But regional currency, when you think about it, you don't really think about education. But it is such a creative thing that we thought that it is very useful to teach students about the area. So we thought as regional currency is a creative tool to transform how we exchange goods and services and warm assistances in the community, we thought that by studying regional currencies, we can learn about the region more and its residents and the industries. So for the students to investigate regional currencies, we thought that it is to learn about the whole region from history and to the future. And from the community building point of view, especially in Japan, with aging of the population and depopulation in the local areas, we are facing challenges to maintain local communities. And regional currency is an ideal tool for the young students to learn about the local community and be interested about the community, and not to go and live in Tokyo or in Osaka, in big cities. So by utilizing regional currencies as an educational tool, we thought that there will be great possibilities for the community building efforts. And we have made researches about 3 different community currencies in Japan. One is Kapoka, which is in Kasama City in Ibaraki Prefecture, where I teach. And the other 2, Rineria and cruise ship, are from Kesenuma. Kesenuma was badly hit by the tsunami in 2011, and from the destruction, they thought about making regional currencies, and these are the 2 regional currencies they have established. And this is the outline of the 3 different regional currencies. They are all set up after 2011. And they all have validity. The shortest is Rineria's 6 months. And the longest would be Kapoka's 2 years. But they all cannot be converted to yen. They can be used in stores, but no convert with currency. And then I will explain further about Kapoka. Kapoka was introduced as coupons, and they are coupons can be exchanged to only 14 different kinds of goods, like food and pottery. And because Kapoka is, Kasama City is famous for its pottery. And then this was introduced by the city of Kasama. And the government wanted to involve the residents to community building. So this was introduced. And at the moment, the city provides to the citizens, Kapoka, points. And they can use the points in the stores. But the final goal is for the shops to also issue points for the residents, so that it sort of diffuses and spreads in the region. But they are struggling, yes. And this is the area of Kasama, and on a Google map. And later on, Kayo will explain about how to point these terminals. These are the Kapoka terminal points where the residents can come and exchange their coupons to for their activities. They do an activity and the city issues coupons, and then the coupons can be used in stores. And the next one is Rineria, which is introduced in Kisenuma after the East Japan Great Earthquake. And the name of Rineria is very unique. Re means regeneration, and ene means energy, and Ria comes from the Rias coast, which is the character of the coastline of Kisenuma. And actually, Kisenuma Regional Energy Development Company issues Rineria for the owners of the forest in exchange to the wood chips they bring from the mountains. It is like this. From the mountains, they bring the wood, and the energy company provides half of the value of the wood in Rineria, and half is paid in yen. And the owners of the mountains can go shopping or eating, etc. And this is the circulation of money in the local community, and they are quite involved in energy and food and agriculture, forestry, etc. This is the note of Rineria, and this is the backside, and this is designed by the slow food of Kisenuma. The third one is cruise ship. Cruise ship was also issued after the tsunami, and this is rather in the sense of tourism. And this is the website of cruise ship. Anyone who comes to the area can obtain crew card free of charge. They can use yen in a store, and they can get points in the stores. And by getting the points, they can buy something in the next step. This is the how cruise ship is working. And so I have introduced you 3 different types of regional currencies which are used in Japan. And as you have seen, these regional currencies differ greatly by the aim of implementation, issuer and its users. And each regional currency is unique and ideal object to start investigating. This is why we thought making research is very interesting for the students to learn about the community, and maybe they would be interested to get involved in community building later. So I will pass on to Kayo in the next part.
Good afternoon. Now we are moving to the latter part of our presentation. Why not we make our own regional currency, the community currency, which is of the digital one. When you try to draw a paper map, you necessarily need a paper and a color pencil, and of course this addresses of points of interest to put on the map. Like 181 Sakuramachi, Tokyo. It's my address. But to create a digital map, you need a computer, and instead of that address, you need a latitude and longitude data of the point of interest. So next thing is, the next question is that how do we get longitude, latitude and longitude data? And maybe the first thing we can do is getting by GPS devices such as Garmin or the GPS installed in your cell phone. But there's another way, is that to convert addresses to latitude and longitude data using a geocoding system. And unfortunately, you are not you don't have a geocoding system around you. You even can find latitude and longitude data on Google Maps. So these two ways I just talk about it. As for us in Japan to convert addresses to latitude and longitude data using geocoding system, we have a system called address matching system, which is the service provided by the CSIS of the University of Tokyo is available, whose URL is this. Anyone can use it. It's quite open. And this is how you just, when you access to that URL, you get a window like this, and you set the address and upload the file to the CSIS server, and this is how you set and send it. Then instantly you get the answer with the address, and this is the latitude, longitude data added. You get it instantly back to you. It will be back to you. And now, this, as I said, when the geocoding system is not available, not effective Google Map, in case you need to use the Google Map. I think you all know about the Google Map. And I just let this is an image of the Lake Kimsey. If you want to know the center latitude, center data of the latitude and longitude of Lake Kimsey, you just click on it, and below this, you click, and in the bottom of the map, you will see the latitude and longitude data. In this way, you can get, if you try very hard, you can get many points. And since you are equipped with latitude and longitude data, you are ready to create a digital map. And the very easiest and the first thing for the, I think it's in making with the student, I think utilizing Google My Maps application will be the very best. Easy. The URL here, and you get a window like this, and here you get the import. Here you get you import the latitude and longitude data and send to the Google Drive, and like this. And set the latitude and longitude data to the Google My Maps, and you get your marker on the Google. So your regional currency map can be shared with friends using the URL on the map. So to speak in short, there's 4 steps you need to take. One is a discussion on the regional currency community, and then survey and walk around the community and create a map and share the map. But if you want to go further to study and analyze with GIS, you can do many more things. GIS is for the geographic information science, and those who especially want to analyze the geographical information with GIS, we sometimes say geographic information science. So for this geographic, to study more about the GIS and GI science, there's two most important, two software is famous. The ArcGIS is the most authentic, but it's rather expensive. But there's one QGIS called QGIS, and it's in open source and it's free software. It's European first. I am very grateful to those who are working with the QGIS. And within the GIS software, geographical map data are piles of layers such as district boundary, road layer, and land use layer, and so many layers. So for those, we have the basic map information data in Japan is downloadable from Geostatistical Information Authority of Japan, Kokudo Chirin. And this also is open, you can use it. And this is how I put on the ArcGIS with the road layer and building layer. So I'll just show you two analysis. With one is a location with Kapoga terminal with 500-meter buffer around the terminal. Do you see these buffers? This is often called the buffer analysis. And one is more complicated. To find out whether Kapoga terminal are placed where buildings are densely located. And this is the building data. But this building data comes in the polygon data. So we need to put make them the point instead of polygon. And with using the kernel density method, we can calculate the density of the building in Kapoga City, like this, in 2 dimensions. And then if we want to see in 3 dimensions, it comes like this. And when you place the Kapoga terminal on the kernel density map, and many other statistical data such as population census, economic census, and can also be laid out to help analyze the appropriate location of Kapoga terminals. The download site of Japanese statistics here, and it's also quite open and happy. So, as a conclusion, aim of this study was to investigate regional currencies from 3 aspects. To create a regional currency within the need latitude and longitude data, where geocoding systems available converted. And in creating digital MyMap, Google MyMap is a very appropriate application to start with. The GIS software is powerful in understanding and analyzing the region content. Thus, through the creating and analyzing GIS maps, students can foster the spirit of community building. Thank you very much for your time.
And now is the time for questions, comments, observations. Okay, the first question.
And when you want to do it in a time series, is it possible with this software that you have the data from the geography connected with years, 19 1991. So you can see the development.
Yes. And yes, I think that's point. Yes, we can do it. Yes. And we can store it and save it and we can analyze.
Yeah, maybe it makes more sense now to
Yes.
see the change. Now, at first, the region was this and that, and then it grows up or it shrinks or so. And,
Like businesses, and then you see, okay, here the hills are climbing, and then yeah.
And I only use this the terminal, but if you have the data of those customers who come to the shop, that is very wonderful map and could be very worthy of analyzing.
But of course, there was a practical problem. We wanted to do that
Yes.
in Kesen, but there was a difficulty. For example, cruise ship, they didn't want to give the data to us because it's really a secret for them. They say cruise ship, well, everything's fine and very good, and please join us. But they want to collect the information of the consumers, and they don't want to give it to us. Of course, it's their secret, and it's the important thing. But still, theoretically, it's really nothing to get that information.
When the city is doing the regional currency, it is okay because the city wants to give you information, and they will provide the information of the terminals. So we can do it, in a time series, like from the beginning, the next year, so on. But for instance, with cruise ship, it is half commercial with tourism, so they really close their clients and customers, and they don't want to open the data. So we were not able to access to the members of the cruise ship.
Yes.
What are some ways that the city governments are accepting the different complementary currencies themselves?
You mean accepting?
The government
Yes.
also will take the currency
Yes,
from
yes.
businesses and individuals in
Yes.
what ways?
They are very interested in using the community currency as mutual assistance. For instance, for vulnerable people who come out of the hospital, they need assistance, like taking them to the hospital for the morning, or to do some shopping, or to the bank, or etc. Commute, transport, etc. They want to use this type of assistance as a volunteer, but they get the currency from the city. So the city pays the helper. So the helper can use it's like time banking. Yeah, they can use it.
Just to clarify, how does the city government take in complementary currency? That would be an example of the government paying out complementary currency.
You mean the city
Government.
wants the members to pay?
That's right. Are there ways that the city government accepts the currency from businesses and individuals?
No, we have not seen any of that sort of example yet.
They have an interest, but they haven't realized it in a real sense. Maybe as an individual person, they worked, for example, at the Kesen University, and as an individual, they committed themselves, but not as a public person.
Do you have an example as tax or some public transport? Or public
Yeah,
services?
the currency needs to be circular, so it goes from government gives the honorarium to help somebody coming out of hospital. Then that person that receives it maybe spends it at a business. Then that business what would be examples? Do they pay business licenses, taxes? Do they pay for licensing fees?
Not yet in Japan. I have not heard about that.
So the business would look to other businesses
yes, that's right.
to circulate.
Only in that way.
And they don't cash it in for yen.
No.
Just out of interest, you said at the beginning that one of these currencies was launched or founded by local authorities
Yes.
after the tsunami to revitalize the area. Or was it? Is that a common pattern in Japan?
Yes. You mean?
Is it usually the local commune or local authority that starts a currency, or is it private individuals or NGOs? I don't know.
Yes. The most common pattern would be NGOs and private. Yes. Personal establishing a new regional currency. It's not so common as for a city to do it.
And were there any reactions on the part of the state or institutions to people starting currencies?
Oh yes, they are not rejecting. They are open, and they are looking and sort of finding out how they would establish and diffuse.
I understand that some of the governments are funding the complementary currencies. They're paying the staff to coordinate.
Yes. And actually, I've interviewed the local government staff employee who is in charge of Kakoka. She belongs to the city and is paid from the city, but she is the only one. And there are a few people who assist her, but she is the manager.
Am I right that I understand that you were saying that just because it was directly after the earthquake and tsunami in 2011, there were several public motivation, so to speak, to make the region a little bit right or reconstruct themselves or so on?
Yes, and there were funding from overseas and other governments, and the tax was paid for the tsunami destruction. So there were lots of money which went into the Tohoku area. So for instance, Rineria was funded partly by that sort of money.
The aid.
Yes, the aid. Yes. So, for instance, there was a biomass plant to make electricity from the wood chips. The big machine was imported from Germany, and that sort of expense was paid by such money.
Thank you. Yes, my question is about disappointment of maps. Once it's created, does it support or provide a dynamic, the development of the system, complementary systems? Dynamic. Does it provide the change of the density and latitude of the system? Or once it's created, does it provide dynamic data?
データ作ってそれでこう変わった場合にそのダイナミクスをこう組み込むことができるのか、その変化を組み込むことができるのか、それともこうなんていうか毎回やり直さないといけないのか。
You mean automatically?
Or macro?
Yeah, macro dynamics.
operations. Oh. I mean,
the number of participants and places.
This year and this I don't think I just think it now is that if I make the map here for this year and make the next year's map and make the movie that will make it personally make dynamics, but not on the software.
Thank you. Okay, I have to finish this session. I'm sorry. I again abused my role of the chair, but thank you very much for live discussion, and I finish the session.